So currently ACC has one of the more stringent buffer standards in the state, for those that aren't familiar, and there's a proposal that reduces those in some cases for things like lakes and ponds. And it seems like we're losing an opportunity to maintain our local water quality, so we're squandering our chances there. Right now there's a local committee being formed to address this, and their meetings are open to the public, so I encourage all people in this room to attend and comment, because you probably have pretty strong opinions on these matters. So thank you, Leslie.
This question is for you, Puneet. What are your findings? Why do you think that minority landowners, specifically African American landowners, are not participating in those forest programs?
So we just submitted that paper, and it was like 15 days back, so still, findings are fresh in my mind. First thing is that all these federal landowner assistance programs need clear title. Because if you don't have clear land title, you will not get any financial support. And most of these minority forest landowners, because of historical racial issues, they don't have clear title. So that is a big block which is preventing their active participation. And second biggest problem is that, and which is the main problem actually, and which has really came out in my research, is that all these federal landowner assistance programs, they are cost share programs. But the problem is that, it's not the fact is that first landowner has to put, let's say, $100, and then you take that receipt and go to the, let's say, NRCS and say, I have spent $100 and I did my cost share, and then NRCS will return you $70. So your actual cost will be $30. But the biggest problem is that how to get those initial $100. Poverty, especially in Halifax County, it is a really poor county. So, and these are two major regions which are coming together as a major force for blocking active participation of these minority forest landowners. And third thing, I think I should say that very explicitly, that there is an absolute lack of trust between agencies and these minority forest landowners, and mostly because of historical reasons. So these three are prime reasons, especially in terms of your not coming with initial money, then your trust, and the third one, that these landowners, it's sad actually if you go there. So these are three reasons which I will say, the main primary reasons for inhibiting active participation of these landowners.
My question is also for you, Pete. So you talked about the wood pellet industry and how we're a large exporter of wood pellets to the UK. I was wondering if you can comment on the extent at which you feel this is a result of the renewables obligation program that the UK has implemented. Are you familiar with that and how it works?
I know a lot about UK wood pellet. So the thing is that in European Union they have adopted a policy, they call it 20% by 2020.
Right.
And the reason is that, so that policy is because European Union had decided to source 20% of their total energy from renewables by 2020. And as a result of achieving that target, they are giving lots of subsidies to promote electricity or energy consumption from renewable. And those subsidies are basically driving this entire market. And as you know, European standards are very strict when it comes to forest harvesting, logging and whatnot. And plus they don't have a lot of forest, cold country. So what is happening, they are sourcing a lot of wood from southeastern United States, which supplies like 25% of total lumber in the world. So it is no surprise that all that, small pulpwood and all those things, right now they are going for wood pellets, and all those wood pellets are going back to Europe for electricity generation. And my finding, and there, as I know it's a little bit off from your question, but there's a big controversy that, these wood pellets, they are being produced here and we are doing deforestation and whatnot. But as I just mentioned that 96% of total biomass harvested in the state of Georgia is sustainable. They follow all the voluntary guidelines. They are voluntary, they are not even compulsory. And only the percentage area under certification is 5%. So the total percentage area which is under 5% is creating a big problem in European Union countries, saying that these wood pellets are not sustainable because they are coming from 95% of land which is not certified. But that is why de facto certification becomes such an important topic when it comes to Georgia and the future of forest in Georgia.
I have a question about the decision analysis system. Thank you for that explanation. That was very interesting. I guess I'm still not sure about how this system takes future uncertainties into account. Does it do it by predicting what the different possibilities might be, or by building leeway into the...
It takes the problem and breaks it down into pieces, where each piece is a single time step in time. And so if you analyze each piece, you can link them together. And in fact, you link them together backwards in time, and then solve the problem. It's kind of like working backwards through a maze, right? I did that all the time. I was proud of myself when I was a kid. But it's the same principle. You kind of work backwards through time until you get to a point where the selection of decisions aren't changing when you add more and more and more time chunks to it.
Lizzie?
I had a question for John. With the model agnostic combining of data streams, could you give an example of what types of data streams you've combined using that to get a more rigorous distribution of whatever process you're studying?
So the idea is, I think the species occurrence records is a good example. If you have a species of interest, which is relatively rare, and so you have a few data points from which to collect, from which to learn on about the association with covariates, but you have a larger data set, maybe of related species or records that might be recorded through the same recording process. You could look at the concentration of those with respect to your covariates, and you find, oh, well, we tend to sample near roads or near urbanized areas. And one way to think about it is that you then fit a very reliable model to those pieces, right? This model is not going to have a lot of uncertainty because you've had so much information to learn from. And then you take those rare pieces of information about the focal species of interest, and you reweight them according to how likely they would have been found if they were distributed randomly with respect to your covariates. The residual association then is the extent to which they're selecting out of the available habitats for occupancy. I think that general idea, though, can be expressed in terms of a ratio of probability densities. And so lots and lots of statistical models that you may be familiar with, probability density estimation like just a Gaussian density or a kernel density estimator, or linear regression, or classification models. Many of these can be construed as a conditional probability estimation problem. I know I'm going into jargon here. I think that we can calculate that conditional probability by looking at the two independent joint distributions. So when you see that the species occurrence problem is a special case of conditional density estimation, then you start to see all of the range of possible problems you could solve this way. I think spatial problems are particularly amenable to this kind of solution because so often our data sampling processes are neither uniform, random, nor designed. And so we have this convenience sample. And the question was, can you model how it is you conveniently got the data and then correct your data accordingly?